Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's AEW Grand Slam, and that means we're going to chat all about it here on Wrestling Inc. And have we got a show for you? We've got handshakes, hugs, and kicks to the yam bags. But before we get into all of that, allow me to introduce the team. I am Jack Farmer, being joined by NYC Demon Diva and Justin LaBar. Justin, after retaining that Spar with LaBar championship yet again, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, probably better than John Moxley, who got dropped on his Yam Dome tonight. So we'll talk about that. But I'm feeling pretty good. It's a Wednesday. We had a big wrestling show. Baltimore Orioles have clinched the playoffs in baseball. My Washington Commanders are 2-0 in NFL. Life is good right now.
He's just signing off. What?
She said, peace out.
Oh, she doesn't like the football talk. In that case,
it's not the football talk. It's not the football talk. Justin LaBar knows what he says to trigger me.
Is it the Commanders? Oh, it's the shirt.
It's the Orioles.
Oh, you're not an Orioles fan?
It's a tough reality for a Yankees fan this year.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah, don't tell me about it. Then I didn't have to go through enough with MJF and all of his Mets markdom, and now you're gonna rub on my face that the Orioles clinch. I don't care. Let's just move on.
Yes, I am.
It's the I mean,
you're supposed to wear pink anyways.
Yankees are one of those teams I have no hard feelings when things don't go their way. So they've had too many good years. Once you had too many good years, I don't care if you have a bad year.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jack Farmer. They've been losers for quite a long time, and it's completely unacceptable. They haven't won anything since you were probably in diapers. So
it's baked into their history now. It's like the Patriots at this point. They could lose for the next 50 years. And
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. If you're a real fan who grew up during the dynasty, like the 1998, the best baseball team of all time, is engraved in your brain that if you don't win the World Series every year, it was a failure of a season. So for me, the Yankees have failed since 2009. That's just how it works. I don't care how far they make it. If you don't win the big one, you're Samoa Joe in my eyes.
That is the sign of someone whose team has been too good for too long, is when you only accept winning the championship. Because I'll tell you,
I like winning, Jack. If you settle for less than that, that's on you. That's on you, okay?
I'll take 50-50. If we get better than a 50-50 record, I'm like, sweet, we did it, guys.
That's gross, Jack. Just move on. Just move on.
Let's talk about someone who never accepts 50-50 win-loss records, Vince McMahon. According to the LA Times report, McMahon initially told the board he wouldn't stand in the way of their investigation into his actions earlier. Additionally, McMahon reportedly agreed to step down from the board voluntarily with some reluctance, while also claiming that each of the described encounters he had been consensual, and the payoffs had only been a matter of protecting the company against potential litigation. However, by December, McMahon seemingly changed his mind about stepping to the side and sent a pair of letters to the company's board informing them of his intent to return to shepherd in a sale. He was unanimously voted against by Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, but he used his voting power to get rid of two members of the board and then get himself back in charge there. The report indicates that McMahon viewed the internal investigation as being disloyal, and two more board members resigned in the aftermath of McMahon's return. Since then, McMahon has ended up selling the company, and under the new corporate infrastructure, McMahon remains in power, serving as the executive chairman. Justin LaBar, I've said for a very long time, never bet against Vince McMahon.
No, I mean, he's beat the government. He's beat Ted Turner. He's beat pretty much everybody he's been up against. The one thing
God, didn't he?
He did beat God in a tag team match.
Yeah.
I mean, he was booked strong to go over God.
Yeah, it's a squat.
I mean, it really. Well, I mean, they always say nobody does the job to Father Time, but Vince is certainly going to try to stand up to that challenge. This LA Times piece was more of the same. There wasn't a whole lot of new. We did get a little bit of quotes from one of the board members who vacated, who basically said, I don't agree with his values and stand by mine. The most interesting thing I took away, not that this is shocking news, but to hear somebody of their credibility say this, was they had a quote from a former senior counsel in the SEC's Division of Enforcement who told the LA Times that McMahon could face criminal or civil liabilities that may prevent him from serving as a director of a public company as a result of the investigation. So that was the biggest thing I took away, is that if there's still investigations and still firms and special groups, what have you, that are following a paper trail, following evidence, following testimony of alleged victims, if they're still doing that, and that means that there's still potentially criminal or civil that could come down on Vince at any point, which then by law could remove that would make TKO after removing. That was the biggest takeaway I got from this whole piece.
Same.
Yeah, Issa, I believe that when all is said and done, Vince McMahon's going to run Endeavor. I feel like he's just going to take that thing over eventually. He is a freight train. You can't stop Vince McMahon when he wants something. I don't think he's going to like calling someone his boss for much longer. And somehow, some way, I don't know how, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a business mind, Vince McMahon's going to find a way to take over.
Most likely, and I wouldn't put it past him. I'm with both of you guys, right? You said never bet against him. I'm with you. When this whole thing happened, I remember just thinking, I don't know, they'll figure out a way around it, and he's just retiring for now until everything cools off, or until we figure out the way around it. I do think it's what Justin LaBar pointed out there. I think it's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, it's Vince. Nothing shocks me, literally.
I always say if someone dared Vince McMahon to make a time machine, I would say, I don't know how quantum mechanics or anything like that works, but I'm going to bet on Vince McMahon. He'll figure it out. I don't know. Somehow, if he wants something, he's going to get it.
Look, Kurt Angle just had this quote in an interview he just did. I mean, Vince's mother lived until she was, she at least until 101. She made 100. I know that. And Vince has said that he plans to live until he's like 120. Like he does not plan on going. I mean, the man's 78 now.
He'll freeze himself like the conspiracy theories around Walt Disney, so that way when they figure that part out, they can bring him back.
I'm telling you,
it'll be Walt, Vince, and Austin Powers.
If the Grim Reaper shows up to Vince McMahon's door, Vince is going to give him a scare.
He was watching too.
Yeah. Grim Reaper's got nothing on Vince. No one's coming.
If you want to take me, you got to take me on a match, pal.
Yeah, exactly. That knock on the door. Hey, pal.
Hey, pal.
Move on down to the next street.
Yeah. Nope, never.
I got a workout to get in.
Seriously.
It's leg day.
You know he doesn't sleep, so yeah, he will have to come to the gym. He goes, knocks on the door, and he's like, wait, he's not here. Let me go check the gym real quick. Vince McMahon, never bet against him.
What is with this new mustache and look, though? It's like a cross between Gomez Adams and Vincent Price. Like, what is he doing?
I love it. Just he looks like he's a super villain. Come on. Like, that is such a super villain look. I mean, if it was a little bit longer, I could see him like twisting it and tying damsels and leaving them on train tracks. That's what he looks like. He's the bad guy in every movie, but he's Vince, so it works.
I like it. He does look like a villain straight out of a telenovela, and I'm just here for it.
This is a guy who used to not let himself have facial hair because he didn't want the hair to win.
There's this part of me that likes to think that Vince believes that no one will realize he's the same guy from all those years. like it's a Clark Kent Superman thing. Like, oh, who's this strapping young man who's never been in business before? That just seems to be the boss of it. I don't know. I feel like he thinks we'll all forget who he is because of the different hair, and we'll move on with it. Very Ezekiel Elias.
Oh, no, you did not just bring that up.
The greatest brother pairing in pro wrestling history. Of course, I'm going to remember them and bring them up.
Of course. I just remember Kevin Owens did such a good job with that whole feud. It was amazing.
Stike Leather says Vince versus the Grim Reaper in Hell in a Cell. That's fitting. We're gonna
get Vince X. Remember when we got Jason X from Friday 13 and Jason ended up even going to space? That's gonna be Vince McMahon.
100%. Vince McMahon will be around forever. People who might not be around forever. Sheamus, Becky Lynch, and Drew McIntyre. Apparently 2024 is when all of their contracts are coming up. Justin, we always like to talk about football and things where they have salary caps and whatnot. Now, there's not an official salary cap in WWE, obviously, but clearly there's only so much money you're going to want to spend. And I'm guessing all three of these people are going to want a lot more of it. Do you think we should be on the lookout for some of these people to depart WWE, or is this something where they're just going to resign in a few months and business as usual?
I don't see Becky going anywhere. I think Becky will be a full on lock. They'll keep her. That is assuming that she still wants to keep going. You never know. She might say, "Look, I've already accomplished all I want to do in my career in these last X amount of years," and she's of course the mother. So who knows? So, but if she wants to stay, I think she'll stay. With Sheamus and Drew, they're obviously older. I don't know. Again, it's do either of the. It's that case of kind of what we always speculate now with the pending free agent of Edge. It's what do they still want to do versus what does WWE want to do? If they're cool with just kind of taking a more backseat role to where maybe they just work some live events as an attraction, or they appear on TV in a feud as a replacement if somebody gets hurt internally and they have to scroll, or one of them or both of them wants to take a transition to being a coach at the PC or a producer backstage. If any of those things come about, then I think you can easily see Drew and Sheamus. Or Sheamus work something out to stay with the company. I don't think that either of them. I don't envision either of them saying, I want to go. I want to go over to AEW and work that style. But then again, AEW has a lighter schedule, so maybe and we've already said I've seen guys go over there that I didn't think would. So it's hard to say, but I think Becky would be a lock if she wants to. And again, I think as you're always trying to, you don't want to have the same agents forever. You don't have the same trainers. You always want to keep mixing up. I would not be surprised if a Sheamus and or a Drew transition in some kind of role, especially with now since post-pandemic, WWE is getting back on pace with NXT, of expanding NXT more globally and getting around the world as they've always envisioned. So right there, I could see Sheamus and again Drew being valuable assets, whether it's as talent scouts, coaches, producers, part-time wrestlers, all of the above.
All three of them, Irish and Scottish. So that little part of the world in contract negotiation time here, Issa. But what do you think the odds are of any of them leaving versus staying?
I will be shocked to see any of these three go anywhere. Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. Sheamus is such a staple WWE. I like Drew. I don't know that they'll know what to do with them. And Becky has just done so much, and I still don't even think that we've seen everything from her. If I'm Endeavor, at least I will try to make the things work to get them to stay. And like you said, there's other roles that they can go into. I am a huge fan of Sheamus' YouTube channel, where he does the workout and features a different WWE superstar personality, because he even had Kathy Kelly on there. And I absolutely love some of these workouts are super useful. So I can see Sheamus transitioning into something like that, So we'll see. You also have the factor that Becky's husband is within the company. It's probably easier for them to travel together. So yeah, I don't see them leaving, but you never know. Yeah,
it would be. They all feel like WWE lifers, and I think there's value to that as well. Sticking with the company. Obviously, Drew left and came back famously, but I get the feeling if I was putting money down, I'd say they all stay. But this is a weird time in wrestling; things happen, so who knows?
Or if they don't stay and do any of these roles that we're tossing out, whether it's wrestling, coaching, whatever, they could all just, or two or three of them could say, you know what, I'm done being on the road, I'm done bumping. I'm not going to AEW, another company, but hey, sign me on a Legends deal. I'll be happy to start getting that merch and the video game stuff and let me be in that Legend status. I'll come back for the anniversary shows, so that could very well be a real thing too.
Yeah, it's I think that's the thing with WWE, with where they're at now, especially at the mergers. There's just so many pathways there at this point for them that it's hard to imagine them leaving at this point in their careers for a different company. Because unless AEW offers them just insane money at this point, because I'm sure WWE is going to offer them good money also. You know what I mean? I can't imagine the difference being that great in what both companies offer. But WWE, they've been with them. They're pretty comfortable there, and they've got things they can age into, like those producer roles or Legends contracts and things like that. But again, you never know. Anything could happen. It's pro wrestling these days. A lot of things happened on the show tonight. Grand Slam, a great show, I thought. But before we get into that, like, comment, share, subscribe, put the link into social media. Let everyone know to come check us out. If you're lurking, shout out to all the lurkers hanging out there. Always glad that you're here. If you're watching later, leave a little comment or a 5-star review on Apple. Why don't you? And if you're here in the chat, we got Christopher Stikelether, we've got Tornado Anthony Y, Jason, we got Beer, we got Stephen Camp, we got a lot of Mike Martin, Sergio, Majestic Mario. We are going to have a fun chat in a little bit. Clay Ford, Majestic Maria, I got your super chat. Jake and Tornado, I got all your super chats. I'm going to get through all of them. Marie, yours is going to be, actually, I guess it's going to be pretty close to the beginning because it's about Eddie Kingston. But Tornado Anthony Wyatt with the super chat saying, I'm going to be knocking on Tony Khan's door come November. Care to elaborate? Are you selling? Okay. Are you doing door-to-door sales?
That could come off as a bit stalkish.
Yeah. Again, maybe he's doing door-to-door sales. It might work.
What is he selling? Girl Scout cookies?
Do Girl Scouts go door-to-door? I haven't had a door-to-door Girl Scout come by, but if they did, I'd probably buy everything because I'm a sugar fiend. But we got Jake Alliner saying AEW refs are amateur hour, reckless for letting Mox take another dangerous driver. Refs must count to 3 no matter what. If one cannot kick out, we will talk about that whole situation, obviously, in just a little bit.
We'll get into that. I was curious to see. Imagine, I think it's a good thing that Jimmy's not in this show because he might have just.
Jimmy's head would have exploded.
Yeah. I was watching the referees tonight. I'm like, man, Jimmy's gonna have a fit. He's not gonna be okay.
I'm here to put potatoes in bags, and I'm all out of bags. That's what he was.
I love that. I'm gonna book a cameo from him just to request him to say that for us.
Problem is, he does his ref and rant. I don't think that he could rant on this inside of 60 seconds.
Oh no. This is, yeah.
Yeah, it's we definitely have some stuff to talk about there.
He just throws his coffee mug.
It's just him for 60 seconds straight,
just face palming, not even saying anything, just face palming the entire time.
So, in any case, we start the show, right? By the way, this show, just so you guys know, I gush. I love this show. I think AEW's been cooking lately. But we start with Claudio versus Eddie Kingston, title for title. We see their teams hyping them up before the match. It's a slugfest, and after unloading the clip, Eddie Kingston gets the win over his longtime rival. Eddie gets both titles, and Claudio gets his handshake. Issa, to start things off, we are going to kick it off with the biggest Eddie Kingston fan on planet Earth, Majestic Marie,
look at
friend
that
of the
profile picture. Saying Eddie.
Y'all knew I was going to be here. I am so happy right now. My Eddie won the big one. He helped me out, a huge dark point of my life, and it means the world. Issa, this felt like just a very feel-good moment, Eddie Kingston winning. Tell me about your thoughts on this one.
And not only did it feel like a feel-good moment, it was earned, it was deserved, it was the right way to do it, the right place to do it. It was perfect, right? I love Eddie Kingston. Honorary New Yorker, lived over there for over 10 years. And Eddie Kingston is as New York as it gets. He is the guy that will sell you a Lucy outside of a bodega and will kick somebody's ass if you go to him, right? I get that realness from him. And I personally thought that if Eddie was going to get a huge moment, a huge victory, it needed to be in New York. I knew he was going to get the pop. And I got to tell you something. When I first saw this match was starting, I was like, Eddie has to win. Because you cannot book the show to start this way and completely deflate the crowd by having him lose. Eddie has to win. That would have been a horrible booking decision. But yeah, the match, it was great. It started a little slow, but I see why, because they picked up later on. They gave the matches time today, which was great. It felt like a mini free pay-per-view on TV, and I appreciated that. The show flew by. Imagine having Wheeler Yuta as your hype man, though. You're bound to lose. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't get any worse than that as a hype guy. But congratulations to Eddie. Majestic Marie, you were the first person we thought about. She was over on my chat for the watch along as well. But yeah, not only was it a feel-good moment, it was very well earned, deserved, and it was booked perfectly. This was the perfect place and time to do it. Super happy for Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, when Wheeler Yuta is your sparring partner, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight here.
Wheeler Yuta catching all these strays. He's trying his best.
It did let me. First off, I like the backstage, and I like the big hype walks to the ring and all that. But it was a little. I mean, I think Claudio just could have been doing it on his own. He didn't need Wheeler in there. No, this was a good way to start. There is no other and better place for this to have happened than for Eddie. You could see a real feeling of emotion as he shut his eyes, and they were, celebrating him. And just before he said thank you to the camera, the guy's gone through a lot. He's fought, clawed in his career. He's certainly not he's not a guy when you look at you think, oh, this guy's main eventing WrestleMania or whatever, But we've learned about his story at times, and it's a very it's inspirational story as Majestic Marie can account for. So yeah, I thought as he said, they picked up the pace. They kind of paced themselves. They picked up the intensity. And, especially when they threw out the stat that these two had fought each other 12 times already in their careers, and 10 of the times Claudio won. I was like, well, damn, if you're going to throw that stat out there, I hope to God Eddie wins. Otherwise, like, really, what are we doing wasting 25 minutes of the start of the show just to have Claudio beat him when it doesn't need to have happen. So, yeah, it was a really good start. And I agree with what Issa said. This did feel, the way they timed it and things didn't rush, it did feel like a mini pay-per-view in the sense of it was matches. We got a few backstage things, a few whatever, but it wasn't the fast-paced gaga nonstop that
time to process things.
Right.
Like everything breathed tonight nicely.
Yeah, they let everything have its time. So yeah, I thought overall it was a good start. And I'm not the biggest Eddie Kingston fan, but I can see why those who are, I can see why they have this connection to him, and good on him and good for them.
Eddie Kingston gives me the vibes of the friend that every girl has that you go to when a guy breaks your heart. And it doesn't get any better. Like, every girl has that friend. You guys know what I'm talking about. And your ex is getting an ass whooping. And that's what Eddie Kingston does. So, like, I don't know that I'm the biggest fan of his wrestling, but there is a connection there. Maybe it's a New York thing. I don't know what it is, but he's awesome.
So my screen froze. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Oh. Your face is frozen.
Yeah, I froze. I don't know. I can hear you guys just fine. So I'm going to try to do this blind. But I want to say about what I love about Eddie Kingston is he, especially watching this, Claudio is obviously just a wrestling machine, and he's so good in there. But Eddie, he just has so much emotion when he's wrestling. And you feel how angry he is when he's in there, or how passionate he is about winning, or how personal this is. Everything he does, just heart on his sleeve. And it's just it's so cool. I don't know, it works so well. And by the end of it, I was really, really rooting for him. And it was very cool that he got the win, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for Majestic Marie as well.
On a lesser level, I guess I would view Eddie Kingston kind of like, kind of like on the mid-90s when WWE really tried to let us know who Mick Foley was. You have a guy that doesn't look like doesn't look like a gym rat, doesn't look like somebody that they traditionally put on the posters and what have you. Looks quite honestly looks like somebody just, again, straight off the street, but again, not in the way that you would think they typically would be marketing. But he has such a story that is real. And a connection with fans. I feel like, and part of this is just because AEW has so much talent, all the things we talk about, they don't always follow through on stories. I feel like if they kind of followed the blueprint of the way WWE did the sit downs and told the story of Foley and told the story of the faces of Foley and what inspired them. I feel like if you did something like that to Eddie, even if you really committed to it, I mean, I'm not saying you can't just let it all of a sudden disappear for 3 or 4 weeks. If you did that, I think that would actually only help the Eddie Kingston, personality.
They could go in that direction. We'll have to see what kind of a reign this is, because we do see a lot of transitional champions in AEW, sadly. So, and now we got the win. I want it to be booked strong and for it to be long lasting.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about a segment we got after this, and it's becoming this. I can't believe I'm saying this. Roderick Strong is one of the most entertaining people in pro wrestling right now. We have a hospital visit. The Kingdom's thanking everyone for all their help. And then Roderick screams, Adam! Adam Cole shows up. And he's like, where is he? He's like, open your eyes. And then,
I'm right here. Open your eyes.
and then he slowly starts like elevating his bed, and it's making his noise.
The noise, the bed cracking just took me out. It was so slow, and it was making all of these noises. And I don't know if you paid attention to the prayer, but they were praying, I hope to have a neck as strong as yours, please. Like, it was, everything about this worked. It was a fun segment. I was here for it. I'm sorry. This storyline is growing on me. It really is.
It's something, Justin, I want you to talk to me about how sometimes we kind of decide if a wrestler has charisma or character or all these things, or if they're just plain vanilla or whatever we're going to call them. And then something like this happens and it makes you sort of rethink who they are and how talented they could be. And I don't know, now I'm thinking about who are all the people I just wrote off as like, oh, they're just wrestlers that are actually talented. I don't know. It's just it's a crazy thing. I want you to talk about that. And then while you do that, I'm going to restart my internet.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, no, it's, you're right. Roderick Strong, it was somebody who you kind of would think is like, oh, he's kind of just one of the generic guys who, is just there as part of Adam Cole's entourage, whether in NXT or whether here. I mean, I think what MJF even calls Roderick, vanilla or generic, whatever, he uses one of the terms. But yeah, you give him the situation, and all of a sudden now, yeah, I mean, like the noise of the bed creeping up as it reclines.
That was the best part, and it was so slow too. And we all being in that hospital. That's the sad thing. Is like we all being in that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, to Jack's point, I mean, there's probably others, and this is where it makes you wonder, like, oh, it's just a matter of just giving, like, again, story. Like, I mean, matches are great, bell to bell's great, work rate's great, all that's great. But at the end of the day, what's going to move the needle and what's going to move talent and elevate them is when they have time to be part of stories. And right now, I agree. Roderick Strong's one of the most entertaining, guys that they and girls they have to put on TV.
And I've also been truly enjoying the Kingdom here. I think they're really gaining momentum behind this storyline. It's funny that Jack comes back, but then he immediately makes the exact same face that he was doing when he was frozen. So I can't tell if he's really back or not.
It's going to see. I'm just going to look like that, and then when you guys least expect, I'm going to go, "Bah!" Scare. Well, I'm sure you guys had a really great conversation about Roderick Strong in that scene. Anyways, I had a smile on my face the whole time that scene was on. Everything about it just clicked for me. It was just.
You always have a smile on your face.
I will, for the most part. Yeah, I do. But it was like, it was just hilarious. The whole thing and the timing. You gotta give Roderick Strong credit. Like the timing, like the way he just sits there, like not moving, slowly raising up. I was like, click, 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 click.
I was also a huge fan of what you mentioned with the open your eyes, I'm right here. Because if you remember the ending last week, when he was screaming it, we hear Adam Cole say, "Why are you yelling? I'm right here, bro." And I love the little, they're paying attention to the little details. I appreciate that.
It's just so good. And we go from that to another fantastic, funny character that has just taken over the world for me is Christian. He's backstage, and it's like, I love how he's like, yeah, there's a tag team match coming up, but I'm challenging Darby to a triple threat for our title. Justin, this is sports entertainment magic. The idea of the champion, the guy who's kind of pretending to be the champion alongside of him.
He's not pretending. He is the champion.
Justin, can you sort this out?
No, it's great. Again, sport. What I just said a minute ago. Bell to bell wrestling is good. The moves are good. All that stuff. But again, it's story. It's talk you into the building. It's give you something memorable. And the wrestling's always secondary. Look at it all. Whether it's Hulk Hogan and what you're gonna do, brother. Whether it's Shawn Michaels, whether it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, Roman Reigns. It's what they say. It's how they say it. It's what they look like. It's how they do it. Like, all those things come first. It's the music. It's what they do at the end. All those things are the first. That's what when people pay the tickets. When people pay the tickets, they want to hear the music. They want to be part of the catchphrase. They want to be part of all that stick. The wrestling is secondary. The wrestling is what ties together. But people, like, I mean, when Stone Cold Steve Austin at the height of his career, at that point, he'd been dropped on his head with a broken neck and he had 2 bum knees. All of his great technical wrestling was gone. He was down to punches, middle finger, Luthez press, and a stunner. But people didn't come for all of. I mean, they came to be, drink some beer with it and do all that. But they came to hear the glass break. They came for all the slogans. They came for all the catchphrases. That's what it is all about. And that's why I harp on with AEW. Like, yeah, it's great if Tony wants to make all these great, matchmaking, and wouldn't this be a great combination? And we got this star from Japan, and it's a never before. It's like, but that stuff only computes to a very narrow lane. Very narrow lane. Right now, I am so excited to see Christian in the ring, not because I want to see him do his kill switch or whatever the hell his stuff's called. It's because all the talking and referring it to a handicap match by accident when he meant to say.
I love that. The little things. The little things matter.
That's what makes it hit.
Yes.
Yep. And nobody's dad was hurt in the process of this backstage
so far.
segment. So as of right now, but at least for this backstage segment, everybody's fathers were safe.
Issa, this is something, and we'll talk about a few more of them throughout the show, but it feels like since all in, all out, those big shows, obviously there was some drama backstage, but since then, I keep feeling like AEW's clicking, but also it feels like over the past few weeks, maybe months, they've just brought in these characters. And by brought in, I don't mean they signed them, but like, we'll talk about Tony Storm in a bit. Christian, we've got Jungle Boy was doing his thing for a little bit, but Swerve, you've got this Roderick Strong thing, Adam Cole and MJF being friends. Like, they have just created like a whole new roster of very fun characters very quickly.
Say it, of sports entertainers, and it's beautiful, and you love to see it. I'm a big fan of when Justin preaches, because I fell in love with wrestling because of the spectacle of it all, the storylines, the drama. Every time somebody tries to ask me what it is that I like about it, I'm telling them I'm watching a novela, but at the end, people beat each other up instead of getting married. That's the difference. And I love that, right? So when you're just getting the beat up part without the part to get there, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm here for a technical match here and there, but I love the storylines. And I do agree with you. This is the first time in a while that I can sit here and tell you, wow, I'm really behind this storyline, and I'm really behind this character. Wow, these people are gaining momentum of me. As dumb as I thought it was in the beginning, we're letting it play out, and it's working. Credit where it's due. They're really doing a good job. And maybe it was overwhelming to book these 2 humongous shows, but they have taken a step back, and it's making a difference. Even you mentioned the Hangman and Swerve. I know you want them to be friends, but I'm here for that story as well. We didn't even get to see any of that. The fact that they also have things in the back seat for Collision, a 2-hour Rampage that they're taping right now. We'll get into Sammy Guevara and Jericho. I'm super curious about where this is gonna go. Credit to them, because they're trying to sports entertain us, and that's all I crave.
We got a couple of super chats here. The Tornado Anthony Y says, tune in Saturday, November 4th. Someone might be heading to Collision, it sounds unless there's a NXT PLE that day. I don't know. I'm guessing Collision. But then Terry Allen Jr. saying, hobbies you enjoy, Jack. When I get free time, I'm like a normal dude. I like to play video games, music, being happy. I like to hold hands and skip through flowery fields while rainbows are above my head.
In a unicorn, riding a unicorn.
Riding a unicorn.
Why do I picture you like that too?
Technically it's a Pegasus, but
right?
No. I picture you doing the dance number to Age of Aquarius, like at the end of 40-Year-Old Virgin. I can just see you just, frolicking around.
I like to picture my Jack Farmer wearing a tuxedo t-shirt, because it says like he's serious, but he's also here to party.
Serious, but here to party.
I am a living mullet. Party.
The living mullet.
I love that. Please make that your bio.
From the guy with the best hair.
I know.
So we got Jericho versus Sammy Guevara, and Montezi raps for Sammy as he comes out, and Sammy Guevara flies all over.
You know who I thought about when that happened? LaBar, because I still have that song on my Apple playlist. It was a banger. I mentioned it on my watch along. He knows.
Well, let's just get into it. So Jericho wins the match. Sammy Guevara they hug, and then he kicks him in the two amigos, kicks him in the giggleberries, the love spuds, the boyos, the kiwis, the man orbs, the hanging onions. But I want to
hanging onions.
I want to talk.
They should not make you cry.
Well, if you get kicked in them. But Justin, I want you to just tell the story about your musical background with Montesi.
Well, no, yeah, there you go. Issa's got it. Yeah, no, I first met Montesi almost a decade ago, and he recorded a song for my podcast, Wrestling Reality, and it's a great. So you can actually go on YouTube. You can just type in my name, his name, Wrestling Reality Check. Anything that should bring it up. Really good song, great beat, great for the gym if you're looking for something to pump you up. And we were the first time he unveiled it, we were actually in Brooklyn. SummerSlam weekend, and he sang it and did it there, and then he did it in New Orleans with us on a Mania weekend, and it was a great. And then he's since has continued to rise and a great success. He's working with he does a lot of collaborations with different AEW talent. He's on Swerve's podcast, so it was very cool to see him get that stage time there in Queens and getting to do what he does. He's a very, very nice guy. He's one of those guys, like this gets thrown around in society, but I truly do believe this by this guy. He's one of those guys that will give you the shirt off his back. If you need anything, he will help you out, and a really good person. So happy to see him get some screen time. Hopefully it continues to lead to more.
I feel very fortunate. I was able to chat with him twice on podcasts because we have a good mutual friend, Evan Mack, who was on the bump for a little bit, and he did a podcast we happened to both be on, and just a big wrestling fan, great musician, like cool to see him just have, get to be one, have the song, but two, get to come out on Dynamite. Really good guy. So really cool to see him out there. Issa, I want you to talk about what happened after the match. And obviously when Sammy Guevara kicked Jericho in the bait and tackle, in the dude eggs, the nards, the nads, the gonads, whatever you want to call them.
Twig and berries.
The twig and berries. The twig and berries is a low-hanging fruit, but I think that but Issa also
forbidden fruit.
But Issa,
make it stop.
Your thoughts on Sammy Guevara joining Don Callis and maybe old Daniel Garcia not being too happy about it. Didn't even thrust dance once.
I was disappointed we didn't get a thrust dance. Did you hear the crowd pop when they show like Daniel Garcia? Everybody was waiting for the dance. Before I get into the end, it was a great match. Like some of the things that Jericho is still doing at this point in his career is so impressive. Shout out to him. There is a little bit of a part of me that wishes this would have happened before the match tonight, just to have a little bit of heat going into it, because I found myself not feeling as invested other than, this is going to be a banger. It's Jericho, Sammy Guevara, right? And it's like really funny because I was saying how Sammy has won me over as a nice guy watching his vlogs, and then he turns heel. When I finally call him a nice guy, they turn him heel. I'm very curious about where it will go. Great match, fun, but him joining Don Callis building this crazy army, I think it's interesting, and I want to see where it goes.
Yeah, Justin?
I was going to say, if you want some Daniel Garcia dancing, there's some video floating around online that apparently, obviously, this is when they were done filming. This is obviously when they were not live tonight for Dynamite. They got Daniel Garcia has Tony Khan out on the ramp, and they got Tony Khan to do the Daniel Garcia thrust dance.
Oh my God, that is must see.
You say must see. I'm over here thinking things I never need to see.
Well, let's say once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I'm looking it up.
Tony Khan doing the thrust dance. I gotta see. I gotta check that out. But question for the chat and question for both of you. Issa, you go first. Better dancer, Prince Nana or Daniel Garcia?
That's not even fair.
Got to pick.
That's not even. Oh God, I just saw it. Thanks a lot, Justin.
Tony Khan.
Yeah, Tony Khan wins. I'm going to say Prince Nana.
Prince Nana. Justin. Prince Nana or Daniel Garcia? Better dancer.
Yeah, I gotta go with Prince Nana. I wasn't like he didn't do much for me recently, but then lately these gift-worthy dances, I gotta give it to him. And yeah, I love the callbacks to the Jericho, Shawn Michaels. Obviously, that they said how the jacket that Sammy came out as was basically calling back to the Jericho jacket that he wore when he went against Shawn, and then of course the ending with the nut shot. Like I love that. I like and I will say this. I like the fact that this is where it is cool in the AEW world is that they obviously acknowledge that obviously wrestling was around before them, and so they'll acknowledge. They won't say WWE, but they'll acknowledge that Jericho had a match against Shawn Michaels. They'll acknowledge an old Bret Hart skit that they parody. Like I do, so I do like the fact that they acknowledge, because I think that would be ridiculous if they tried to just completely act like that none of this stuff ever happened. So I think it's nice that they incorporate it into their history or allow it to be incorporated, and they don't, have like certain terms or words that they can't use, because that does seem kind of tone deaf.
And what's cool about it is if you didn't get the reference, it works. Like if you never saw the Jericho Shawn Michaels thing, the match was still great. It didn't make it weird. I
love that you brought that up, because it's the right way to do Easter eggs. Acknowledging the fact that some people might not be familiar or old enough or whatever with the story that you're trying to tell. Make it work, and also give a nod to those people that understand exactly what you're referring to. Very well done.
Yes.
And I'll say this with the match. I thought, first off, I like the ending. I love the Sammy going off the top and Jericho countering it with the code breaker knees, and that was it. Because that's what the finish should be. Once I saw that move hit, I went, oh, well, and I was like, please let that be it. Because, too many other times I would see matches where it'd be a kick out and they try to do 4 or 5 other things to try to top that. And it's just like, no, that's good. I got to say, though, just to call it out, though, I like the story of what these guys are doing. They obviously have a ton of history, Sammy and Jericho. Was it just me, or did it feel like Jericho was like a little winded towards, like it felt like they started going in slow motion, and I didn't know, maybe I was like, again, back to what we said in the opening match, I was like, maybe they're pacing themselves, maybe it's supposed to be this, but then after a while, like I was actually a little bit concerned. I was like, I hope they're okay. I hope they're okay out there.
Yeah, it was noticed, and some people obviously in my watch along were pointing it out in the chat as well.
Okay.
My one, if I had to critique, and look, I love this match, I love this show, but if I did have to point out one thing, and this is something I think Jimmy would say, the timing was a little weird in this one, where the first match was so emotional that this one, because from a story standpoint, it was just two friends being competitive. It felt, even though it was a great match, very low stakes until after the match was over, if that makes sense. It's like, they're friends and they're being competitive, where I just watched this one where it was two hated rivals just battling tooth and nail. So it felt a little bit like, if it wasn't right after that, maybe I would have felt differently. Or if I knew about Don Callis, I would have felt differently. But going into it, it felt like this is fun, but it's also just two friends. If that makes sense. I was more waiting for the end, because I knew something was going to happen at the end. And so it was more like, okay, what's the end going to be?
Who's gonna turn? Yeah.
Yeah. In a vacuum on its own, it was great. But if I had to pick the thing, I don't know how you fix it, because
they had to have a turn here, because we had extremely way too much sportsmanship. I'm not here for all friends wrestling, so I'm glad that this didn't end on a handshake and somebody freaking turned heel, because there was way too much handshaking and hugging tonight.
There was a lot of handshaking and hugging tonight. It's why I loved this episode. Friendship. We move on to what is probably the most talked about portion of the night, unfortunately. Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix. Fenix starts off hot, but Mox cuts him off. Fenix continues to fly. We get a stomp by Mox, which gets the crowd singing Rollins' song a little bit there. Then the ending happened. And Justin, I didn't go back and rewatch anything. I don't know what exactly happened. I don't know where it went wrong, but clearly something went wrong here, and I guess I hope Moxie's okay.
Yeah, of course I hope he's okay. I almost tweeted it as it happened, and then I saw him continue, so then I just stopped. I was like, well, maybe it's not relevant. But before the bell even rang, because they fought outside a little bit, before the bell rang, Fenix dove off the ramp over the cameraman onto Moxley. When Moxley took the bump onto the floor, his head dribbled like a basketball. And it so much so Fenix then rushed over on the ground while still trying to sell and checked on Moxley. Ref never did, which that kind of threw me and bothered me a little bit. And so that caught my attention. And then to follow that, they get in the ring, the bell rings, and commentary's even saying, and of course you can just chalk it up to Moxley's selling, but commentary's even saying he looks a little and I was legit worried. I was like, is he all there? And then they do the match, and then so then this ending happens, and to where Fenix is a driver on Moxley, dropping him on his head. Ref counts 1, 2, and then the ref is clearly expecting it to be a kick out. Doesn't go to 3, complete, and tries to make up some, to see if shoulders on the mat, all trying to save face. Fans know it, And then Moxley hollers something at the ref. They get up and they do the exact same move again, and they count to 3. Well, first off, so yes, if Jimmy was here, I'll go ahead and say what I know Jimmy would say. I've sat in Jimmy's training classes. I know that this is one of the first things Jimmy trains refs on. As a referee, you count. It's up to the talent to kick out. Your only job is to be consistent in your cadence. As long as you're consistent, it's up to them to know when to kick out. That's my problem. I have a lot of AEW referees. Is I can easily tell that it's not the finish because they have a certain different cadence that they have when they know it's not the finish because they're so afraid of that happening. They're so afraid of accidentally hitting the mat and the talent not kicking out. One of two things, but by my deduction, one of two things I think happened tonight. The first is either the ref somehow didn't know that was the finish. He knew Phoenix was going over, but that wasn't the spot that he thought it was, that was the ending. So he didn't want to go for the 3, and they said, no, this is it, and they just got back up and did it again. Or, and I fear this one, if it's number 2. Number 2 is Mox got his bell rung enough that he wasn't all there, and he wasn't there to kick out in time, or had a momentary lapse of memory, or was legit blacked out for a second or two. That's what I fear. Now, yes, he did walk out as they told us in commentary, and those there live are saying, but just because he walked out on his own feet does not mean he does not have a concussion. I'm not saying he does, but that doesn't, so that's what worries me is he got dropped on his head several times or his head bounced off the floor several times. That's my concern. Give the guy the damn vacation already. It's been a year.
Yeah, he definitely deserves that vacation. And, I was on commentary for a match one time, WrestleMania weekend, and this exact thing happened. I mean, it wasn't an injury. It was just the ref didn't know it was the end. And so they counted. He didn't count, and it was clear the guy didn't kick out. So then he does the count again, and it's over. And it was very weird and awkward. And so now, since I've had to be in that situation, now I'm much like Justin said, just count to 3. And if they don't kick out, well, that's something for them. They're going to get yelled at, put it on them at the worst case. But then if there is an issue, at least it's over and you can move on. But easy for me to say when I'm not the one in the ring with a bunch of people looking at you and cameras and stuff. But Issa, we got a new international champion. I don't know if that was the original plan all along. I don't know what the situation is. Obviously, I just hope that Moxley's okay. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Ray Phoenix, super impressive, some of the things he does, but this match was rough. This wasn't the only rough spot. And if you go back and watch it, I mean, Mox was landed on his head. It looked rough, right? There's a part of me that really wanted that ref to count to 3 because, yeah, like you said, put it on the talent. It just didn't look good. It took completely away from the fact that we have a new champ. You just brought it up after we've been talking about this for like 15 minutes. I don't think this was supposed to be the finish. More news will come out, but I personally feel like, well, they should have left the title on Orange Cassidy. They were planning to take it out on Moxley this fast. Like, nothing about this made any sense to me. And Ray Phoenix kind of out of nowhere. I don't know. I think a lot of things went wrong here. And I can only hope that Mox is okay. I do watch Hollows and I come straight here, so I haven't had time to kind of like scroll a little bit and see what it is that's being said. But it just felt like this is not how this was supposed to go down. And I'm with LaBar. Give him the vacation. This guy was supposed to go on vacation so long ago. He hasn't. Recently, he was in the news because he said that he has the arthritis or the body of like a 70-year-old man. He said if wrestling was in the mornings, I couldn't do it. And then you see him still go at this level. And it becomes a little scarier when things like this happen. And you already know that these guys are just like out there in all of this pain. But yeah, I personally think you built Orange Cassidy's streak for so long with the title on Moxley. I don't think that the plan was for Moxley to drop it this fast. There's no way that he was meant to be a transitional champion after Orange Cassidy had it for that long. Something went wrong here, and I can only hope that Mox is going to be okay.
Yeah, well, hopefully good news will come out soon. In the chat, I see people are saying there are reports of it being a concussion. I'm always hesitant to say things like that on shows like this before I know for sure, because medical stuff is pretty important, but hopefully we see good news soon. We did get another championship match after this. Toni Storm versus Saraya for the AEW title. Toni gets shoes from under the ring, and she knows how to use them. Saraya uses spray paint, and Toni Storm plants a kiss, but it's Saraya getting the dub and retaining her title. Issa, this was, again, Toni Storm didn't win here, but has just been a treasure on television with this I don't know. It felt like it came out of nowhere, but I'm here for it. This new character.
It's working. Did you see all the signs? I saw all kinds of watch for the shoe sign, this and that. The entrance, a thing of beauty. She's playing the character to the max. At one point, Soraya's on the outside, Ruby Soho's checking on her. You see her do the dramatic, oh my God. It's working. Everything that she's doing is working. I did not want to see Saraya drop the belt on her first title defense, so I'm okay with the result here. And because Toni Storm is so over with her new character and gimmick, I don't think that losing here hurts her. So again, I know we're giving a lot of credits. People, they can't complain in the comments. We're being awfully positive today. This was very well executed, and I'm here for everything that Toni Storm is doing. And I'm curious to see who Soraya's next opponent is going to be. So this worked.
Yeah, Justin, this Toni Storm, I think, is someone who, with the character she has, could do any. I hate this phrase, but she does not need the title. She can do whatever she wants, and it's going to be entertaining. Where I definitely think that Saraya is establishing herself as a champion. I will say, unfortunately, I'm a big Ruby Soho fan. She seems like the odd person out in this case from the Outcast. But what are your thoughts on this segment?
A lot of it hit with me. I agree. I like the Toni Storm entrance. It felt like very much like my man RJ City would have. I think he should be her a representation. I like the entrance. I like the character. Again, going back to what we said earlier, and this is talk about a reverse. When Toni Storm was in WWE and NXT, again, she could work in the ring, all that, but she didn't really have that much of a character that stood out, or that you could really define, or that had an entrance that you wanted to see that stood out head and shoulders. Now she does. That's right. The stuff that makes the difference. So yes, and I agree. I don't think she needs a title. So I liked the match. I thought it was perfectly timed. Wasn't too short where it felt disrespectful. Wasn't too long where it felt like, okay, we don't need all this. Right in the right time. I agree with Issa. Saraya should retain right now. She should hold on that title for a little bit. I think this hit on all the buttons for me. So
yeah, good stuff. Hopefully they continue to give more time to this women's division. I think they're starting to get a lot of really great characters in there, and they're getting a lot of stuff to work with. Obviously, the goal is that they get the time. That's what we ask for each and every week. And so hopefully we get more time, and hopefully we get a few more of these great characters on TV more, because they definitely are starting to get like characters in the women's division. I think that's so important for them. Mm-hmm. We get to the main event.
I will say, somebody brought it up in the chat. I apologize. Leonard brought it up in the chat. We were talking about that on my stream as well. Who was the heel? Who am I supposed to cheer for here? I will say that is the one thing that was kind of lacking, because they still haven't established Toni Storm. She's a heel, right? She's throwing shoes, she's using the spray, but so is Saraya. So I did think that we need to kind of like now define who is who, or what side of the fence they're on.
This is going to be a very Jack Farmer answer, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't. But I think when you're asking, who is it, like who's the heel, who's the face, and you don't know if it feels heel versus heel, just stop. Don't think about how they're listed internally or the business side of things. Just ask yourself, in my heart, who do I like more? And I think I think if you asked everybody, we'd all say Toni Storm.
My heart. He just said in my heart, who do I like more? That's the cutest thing you might have ever said.
So I think Toni Storm is the answer. She's the face. We like, who doesn't like Toni Storm?
Well, that's what I would assume. People were cheering for her, etc. But she has heel antics.
If we weren't going to get Static Media sued, I would totally queue up Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" right now. That absolutely feels like what needs to be.
To be fair, last time that song got played on a big production, a guy named Jack froze to death in the middle of the ocean. So not sure.
You froze earlier.
Yeah, you already been there, done that, Jack. So we're good to go.
There's room on the door, on the forbidden door.
Do we have? Let me see. Do we have anything?
Don't let go.
Jack just pouring his heart out.
I'm just gonna drift into the ocean now.
Yeah.
There he goes.
What is this?
There he goes.
Just sinking. Goodbye. Oh, we got Sheldon Jackson with the super chats. Bring us back on. Thank you, Sheldon, by the way, for getting the train back on the tracks. Saying, I think Toni Storm as TBS champion would add to her character because she is a TV movie star, and the TBS title is the TV title for the women. That's actually a very good point.
It's a valid point. Yep.
Fair enough.
Jack, in the word of Ron Simmons, damn. So we get to the main event here, and MJF is he first off, he rolls up in a beautiful car, but then Adam Cole gets called away for Roddy, which I don't know if that was supposed.
You're not gonna die, Roddy. Did you catch him saying that? I die laughing.
Well, I don't know. Was that supposed to be happening before Adam Cole got to Roddy, or it doesn't really matter? But like, I wonder if there was.
I see your time, because you would assume they would have timed it differently, and then Adam Cole shows up at the hospital, right? Like, I see what you're saying.
That's what I thought. I thought it was supposed to be MJF and Adam Cole show up to the building, and then Adam Cole leaves the building to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
but they weren't in the building. They were clearly not outside of Arthur Ashe where they were.
Where I don't know where they were. Yeah. But I thought the same thing. It was weird to see Cole again, then going off to Roddy when we already saw him with Roddy in the show.
Well, my takeaway from this was it was a beautiful Porsche. I like the color. However, I laughed at the "you're not gonna die, Roddy." But MJF had that, and again, one of the things that I love about MJF is the little attention to detail that he pays, and he had that "I'm so over this BS" face for a slight second. It was like if you blinked, you missed it. And I like seeing that MJF might not put up with this Roddy thing for much longer, which adds another layer to the story.
And Justin, before we get into this match, I want you to just talk a little bit about that segment with the kid and the throwback to Bret Hart.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know the reference to this, you can probably find it pretty easily on YouTube, but it was a 1994, I believe, promo that WWE used to ring in at the time called the New Generation. It was when Brad and Shawn were becoming the new stars of WWE. Hogan, Macho Man, all of them had left for WCW at this point. And it's famous. It's his dad with his kid in a hallway, like backstage. And then this kid sees Bret Hart and just yells, "Bret!" And the camera zooms real up on Bret all the way down the hallway. And he turns around and, he walks to the kid and gives him sunglasses. And, it was meant to like usher in the new generation. And that B-roll, that visual of the camera zooming to Bret real fast has been used in every Bret montage, every Bret Hall of Fame career celebration. So it's pretty well known for, even if you weren't alive or watching wrestling, then you've seen the visual that it's parodying. So I thought it was a great touch. But even if you hadn't seen it, kind of like what we said earlier about the throwback to the Jericho Shawn Michaels, even if you haven't seen it, it was still just a funny standalone segment. Even if you didn't know it was parodying something that MJF kind of, acknowledges his fan, and then whispers in the fan's ear something about him probably being adopted. So, nice little spin, MJF spin on what's supposed to be a feel good moment, a connection with a superstar and young fan.
Yeah, we see a few people talking about the Mean Joe Green Coke commercial. I think the Bret Hart was a bit of a play
off of that, right? Yeah.
Right, but that bit, the Bret Hart thing, little Jack Farmer history. That was one of the things that I thought Bret Hart was one of my favorites growing up of all time. As a kid, like that, he was my guy, and it was one of those. That was one of the things that got me into it. I would have, to this day, maybe I think I would kill someone for a pair of those sunglasses. By the way, I wanted them so badly, but so it was really cool to see that. We get the match, and after he tells the kid he's adopted, Max plays the whole neck injury situation up. Then he gets DVD'd on the apron. He gets pile drived onto the floor, and you're not gonna believe this, but he got slammed through a table.
You're Nagi.
So in any case, though, MJF fights through it all, and Adam Cole comes out, distracts the ref so MJF can use his tape to choke out Joe, and they end with a handshake, and MJF is still your champion. Justin, this was just a phenomenal, like MJF, this is another guy's line, but MJF doesn't miss.
No, I mean, he's it's right that he's the world champion. It was a very entertaining match. No, he's their world champion. He carries their company. He is their top dog. It goes back to what I constantly say. I can't imagine he's truly a free agent come the start of the new year. I cannot imagine Tony Khan is this nice and naive in the wrestling business that he's allowing this guy to have this kind of a run with his company's world title, and he doesn't have ink to paper.
Yeah.
I had this conversation the other day with Matt Kuhn and everything about, with Jay Cargill and why did they bring her back to TV just to have her lose a match? Like, why do you let her be out of sight, out of mind if she's going to the competition? Maybe and maybe Tony Khan's a nice guy, wants to do right. I don't know. I'd hope that he has AEW locked or MJF locked down for AEW for the long term, because MJF is a guy that can carry your company for the next 10 years. Great match. The match was really good. I mean, he ended up doing what he promised. He ended up choking Joe out. I don't know why the ref didn't do the whole hand thing check on Joe. That's usually what you do with sleepers, but the refs,
because he did it for MJF like literally 3 minutes before.
AEW referees.
That kind of griped me too, to be honest.
But plus, it's the drama. It's the drama. That's an easy drama. Let the hand thing, because you do one, you do two, and then you're expecting Joe to hold it and fire up, and then when he doesn't, it's the oh my god, he just choked out Joe. But they didn't do it, and nobody can nobody can tell me it's because
they wasted. You were going there. You were going to say they wasted 4 minutes of nothing after.
Right. It's not because they were up against time, because then they ended the match. It's 10 o'clock Eastern time. And then they hung around and let Excalibur do his entire rundown of the next 55 shows. He's doing the rundown. I'm figuring, well, somebody's about to come out here because they're just stalling. They're waiting that time up. So I don't know, but whatever. It's the referees. But nonetheless, good win by MJF. All things considered, though, that it did make the ending feel a little like, I guess in typical AEW fashion, I thought there would be another bang. But they just kind of just let the AEW world champion win, breathe, and that's okay too. That's fine too. I'm all right with it.
On this day, no, not yet. But Issa, you talk to a lot of wrestling fans, and they give you their opinions on things. And I got to ask you this question, and Justin, maybe if you want, you can give your opinion too. Have you ever talked to a wrestling fan, Issa, that was not a fan of Samoa Joe?
No. I think Samoa Joe is just universally beloved and over with everybody. You just can't not like the guy.
Yeah.
He's amazing, well-spoken, looks like he's going to kill you, could lose all of these big matches, and you're still intimidated every time he shows up. I talked about it last week. You can insert him into any storyline for any title at any moment, and it's believable, it's credible, and you are invested, right? MJF, in my opinion, needed this. A lot of us like comeback MJF, heel MJF, and I respect what they're doing with MJF and Adam Cole, and it's getting over, but it's not for everybody. And some of us, and I'm including myself, missed a little bit of the more comeback heelish MJF, and we saw little seeds here and there that he's still that guy. Even the faces that he made when he put on the ring, it was like, oh, MJF, and you pop huge for it. You're not supposed to pop for that. He's about to cheat, and I'm over here like, yay, he's back. But at the same time, Samoa Joe is just absolutely amazing. And one thing that I will say about MJF here, and we talked about it earlier, is that MJF is so good with the character work, whether it's as a face, as a heel, like during the line, that nobody talks about how good he is in the ring. And the names of the people that he's kept up with and put incredible matches against. Like, we talk about how he can carry the company on his back for 10 years. That's just based on character alone. But like in the ring, look at the names that this guy has gone against and the matches that he's pulling out of them. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I don't think Samoa Joe gets hurt from losing a match here, but he is becoming the guy that never wins the big one. Not by default, but if you go back to what he was doing in WWE outside of NXT, he really didn't do anything big in the main roster. It was a waste. But yeah, overall, this was fun. I like the shades of heel and JF here and there. Like, he still got that instinct, and I think it's going to come out eventually again. We'll see when. A little bit of a waste of time at the end, but let it breathe and let him celebrate. I didn't like that we didn't have him in All Out. So it was nice to see this title defense in New York. The crowd loves him. He's so over. He did deserve to go through that table for wearing the Met stuff, but what are you going to do about it?
There's a lot of people that were talking, Justin, about Adam Cole and how maybe he hurt his leg jumping off of the ramp. And I just want to say to everybody, I can tell how old you are by how much you make fun of that. Because once you reach a certain age, jumping off of things like that, you worry about hurting your leg when you jump down. When he jumped down, he started limping. I was like, well, yeah, you can't be jumping off things that high, Adam Cole. Come on, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
you know that it's funny that you say that because when I had my last birthday, my dad made a reference and it was like, oh, this is when you start bending down and you can't get back up. And it happened to me one time and I'm like, no freaking way.
well, and he was running down that ramp, and I actually could see him running kind of gingerly. Like that ramp must have not been, it looks like an LED board, so there's not like there's any traction for you to grip your shoes into. So it's kind of like walking on like a sheet of ice, and let alone running. So yeah, then he wanted to get off the ramp. He's like, F this noise, and he jumps off because he couldn't get to the steps. And yeah, I saw him kind of hobbling. So thank God he didn't have any physical spots he actually needed to do. And just back to Samoa Joe real quick. Joe hits all the beats, and I think he added something tonight I had never heard him do. He had that like Joker maniacal laugh that he was doing after he was dropping Max on his head and on his back and everything. And I was like, oh, if this guy ain't scary enough, let's just have him laugh like that. So
I always wanted Samoa Joe to create an app where he's just like threatening you, and it's just messages that you can play when you feel like demotivated or when you're at the gym or something like that, and he'll just get you to get right back to work or finish your workout because he will make me.
I don't know where they go from here. Obviously, MJF's retained. They shook hands with Joe, so that seems to be done. MJF and Adam obviously are still bonded together. There's still the Roddy factor, so you could see him. That's still a story to play. And
they have those tag team belts too. So
they have the tag belts. I mean, I think you can get away. You don't have to have because of what they already have announced and then what else they could announce for Wrestle Dream. I don't think you need MJF in a singles match, but maybe you have MJF and Adam in a tag match. So now I think again we're looking at. Now we're going probably to November to full. That's Full Gear, right? They're probably looking at November for the next big MJF singles world title match.
I wonder if they'll do Better Than You, Baby against the Kingdom without Roddy, obviously.
That could be Wrestle Dream, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of where they're at is Samoa Joe obviously still lurking, but you also you could do Adam Cole MJF, you could do Roderick Strong MJF, you could do a whole bunch of things within there too. That
you could do Wardlow MJF if you wanted to give Wardlow some TV
Wardlow back. So there's a lot of stuff they could do.
Did I say that out loud?
And I wish they did. Wardlow, he's the last guy to MJF lost after that, but it was a tag match. But he's the last one to pin him in a singles match, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I would love for them to revive that. Wardlow could come back in a whole different attitude and talk about how he got that win and nothing came out of it. And look at MJF is now. You never beat me. That would be incredible.
That would be a challenger. He could just walk through the curtain and be a legitimate
challenger. He has that history, Yeah, 1000%. And credit again to Samoa Joe and MJF, who just completely made this work. I was so invested into the student. It all started from Samoa Joe just shoving him as he was making his way to the ring and bringing the throwback. They really built an interesting feud in a matter of 2.5 weeks. So it can be done if you're booking back-to-back shows or shows close together, if done properly, because this was great.
Yeah, this was, now we're kind of to the end, and I want everyone in the chat, let me know what your overall thoughts were of the show. But yeah, as we go around, I guess everyone give your thoughts. But Issa, I thought this was a absolute banger of a show. I feel like I said earlier, all in, all out happening. Since then, it feels like a whole new AEW. I feel like the pacing is different. The time they give things is different. Character work is different. I don't know what changed. I know everyone will say it must be a CM Punk thing. I don't think it's a CM Punk thing. I just think that something changed, and I feel like they've just been firing on all cylinders since those shows. But what would you rate Grand Slam, and where can the world find you online?
Yeah, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. This was great. And it hasn't been just tonight. They have been really trying to develop some interesting storylines and characters, and I give them all the credits. But man, tonight paced beautifully. And the most negative thing that's to be said about tonight's show is not a negative. Somebody might have gotten hurt. We don't know what went down. And that's the only thing that left everybody like, whoa, what was that? And that's the Rey Fenix and Moxley match. And that could have been a medical injury there. So that's the only thing that left me. And it wasn't a bad match. It was just a finish where you're just like, what just happened? The match itself, another banger. So shout out to them. This was an excellent show. And people can find me obviously here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also NYC Demon Diva throughout all socials. Also on YouTube. I am now on Cameo. Lucha Libre Online for some Spanish content. I am trying to take over the world slowly. We're getting there.
I'm going to pay to get a cameo from Issa, having her praise the Baltimore Orioles, and I'm gonna even give her some phrases, some rally songs to sing. That is gonna be money well spent.
I'm gonna raise the price of my cameo tonight just so he doesn't do it.
I'm gonna have Issa talk about how friendship is the most important thing in combat sports.
I'm gonna delete my cameo immediately. And somebody requested it and they emailed me and I filled out the application. The first thing I thought, I was like, somebody probably requested me on cameo just to pay me to talk crap about Roman Reigns, because I have a feeling it might have been a prank or something.
Hey, if they're gonna pay for it,
come on.
Justin, overall thoughts on the show, and where can the world find you online?
No, I thought it was a pretty good show. I thought that AEW delivered again. That they let everything have its time. It breathed. It'd be memorable. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the screwed up finish in the Mox match, but overall, I'm glad we're at least talking about stuff that happened out in the ring, and we're not coming off a big show talking about CM Punk and what he did or didn't do backstage. So that's a win for AEW. I thought this was a good show. So hopefully they build off of it, and they certainly have other stories to build off of it, as we discussed different parts here. Yeah, at Just LaBar across the socials. Monday, Wednesdays I'm here. Fridays mornings Busted Open, Sirius XM, Spar with LaBar. I talked about it briefly Monday. I'll say it again. My guy David Allen, he was doing for all you old school LaBar fans, when I was doing Chair Shot Rally and I was in a suit every single week on camera. I had my guy David Allen who did all my suits, who did my ties. He started with small time LaBar then. Now he's the stylist for John Cena. Now he's a stylist for Pat McAfee. Now he's a stylist for Wardlow. Now he's a stylist for go down the list of a lot of professional athletes. He's doing one. I walked in his very first fashion show. I'm walking in this fashion show next month here in Pittsburgh. There's tickets you can get if you want to be part of it. There's some streaming if you want to be part of it. I'm going to be there. I hear Wardlow might be there. I hear some people who always are up for a new day might be there. A lot of athletes. It is going to be a hell of a lineup. I'm just going to be happy to be there. It's going to be very good. I will give you all the information if you hit me up on socials of how you can support it, how you can follow it. If you need a suit, if you want to look as good as John Cena or me, I can give you that information too. So David Allen Clothing. That's David ALAN Clothing. So big shout out to him and my guy who's been very supportive of me from the very beginning. I'm supportive of him. At Justin LaBar across the socials. This has been it's a fun time right now to be a wrestling fan. WWE's got some stuff going on, and that's all in the ring. Forget all the outside nonsense. Some fun stuff going on right now.
It really is. We're kind of spoiled. Like we forget. I always say, like, go back. I think it's like 2018 when it was like rough for like. I think I always say. I think we talked about on Monday when the McMahons came out and apologized for how bad it was. I always think of those days and how much better it is right now. It's crazy. But if anyone does have the chance to go check out that show, if you get video of LaBar walking, you gotta share it. There's video
of the first one. The first one, Jonathan Coachman was the host. He was the MC. So Coach brings me out. I'm out on the stage. I am rocking a brand new suit. Look pretty good. It's the best I've ever looked. Go figure. When you give me a tailored wardrobe and a makeup team that's doing my makeup and what little hair I had at the time. I had the tan going. It's no way. Give me a team, I can look good. And so when David Allen gives me a team, I can look good. And so I'll look good again next month for one night only.
So everyone, I want to see LaBar modeling. I want to see him do his best Zoolander while he's out there. But thank you to everyone who joined us. Mike Martin, Clay Ford, Casey J, Stephen Camp, Swerve Show, Max Feldman, Tornado Anthony White. Did I say Clay Ford already? Killer of Demons 669, Monkey Armada. I haven't seen you before, but thanks for joining us. And everyone else, appreciate you. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. And my next thing you can check out is Prestige Wrestling on Sunday. I'm going to be on commentary for that show, getting to call some awesome matches. We got Breeze taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. We've got Lee Moriarty versus Jonathan Gresham. Lots of cool matches there. It's going to be on IWTV. Check it out on a Sunday night. It'll be a fun time. That does it for us. Make sure to follow at Wrestling Inc. for all your latest wrestling news, and be sure to check out the After SmackDown show on Friday. That does it for us. We'll see you next time.